If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. I'm feeling pangs of deja vu,
Oh my
Michael
gosh.
Bryant.
I'm more afraid that if the glove don't fit, it's because it ain't meaning shit. We're going to talk about the latest in the hunt for Nancy Guthrie.
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
justice when we see it? To be and Damila lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. Listener clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
Well, obviously, when I was gone, I was in some sort of time warp because the Nancy Guthrie case is no closer to being solved today, a week later, than it was when I left. I'm amazed, and the victimizing of the Guthrie family out of control. I wasn't able to avoid all of it while I was traveling, but I saw just enough to make me sick.
When all that was going down the other night with the SWAT team and somebody reporting somebody had been shot in the head and the house being closed off, I tweeted actually from the JSTV account that we will report on nothing until Monday, until anything or everything or something had been proven to be true. So we stayed away from it here at Justice Serve TV, Michael, and I am glad we did.
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy idea to just cover the things that are verified and appropriate, and not, certain outlets keep coming up with letters. These letters keep coming up timely, like when the interest starts to wane. Oh, we got another letter. And then we're going to get into the sheriff's statement from today, which was also not so friendly to those who might be speaking out of school. And I want to get our guest thoughts on that, because what's the real message there? That's what I want to know. This is from Sheriff Nanos. But before we do that, let's do this. Okay, what do you got? You got anything?
Nothing. I have nothing. I'm ripped and read out from last week.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, well, let me tell you what I got here. A couple of odd things and a couple of expected things. First, there's this crazy story out of Michigan, where this couple buys a home, and they're going to do some renovation, and they part of the home property is a little shed out back. So they go out to the shed, and they open it up, and there are two bodies, dead people in their shed. Yeah, and had been there apparently for some time. First thing I thought was, when you buy a property, aren't you going to open the door to the shed and take a look? But apparently they did not, and it just freaks me out. And it turns out that they believe they've now arrested a suspect who also lived in the home with the prior owners. Prior owners had a romantic relationship, and this third wheel apparently didn't like that, got in a big fight, stabbed, according to the cops, stabbed these two folks, and then just left them in the shed. So, message is, if you're going to buy a property, be thorough. Look at everything. Look at all the structures. You don't have to open up walls. But yeah, you just open up the doors of any closet or structure. I would do that.
Well, what's even sadder? No one reported those people missing. There had to be relatives.
Yeah, and it was a couple of years.
That's what I find the saddest thing.
Yep, a couple of years even. Of course, there was the Pawtucket ice rink shooting today. Crazy story. High school kids having a hockey match. Gunfire breaks out. I listened to it a couple of times. I think it was about 14 or 15 shots, pretty rapid succession. And then there's a pause. Then you see the hockey players who have retreated from the rink, and now they're in their little box, where they wait to go on and play. And then they all pour out of the box and go across the rink. And then you hear one more shot, bam, which I'm assuming was the shooter taking his life. But it was just a bizarre scenario. One person, a young girl, has been killed. 3 others were wounded, and just another version of these horrible shootings that seem to continue taking place, and the kids.
I don't know. The world is depressing. The world is depressing me lately. And part of it has to do with Guthrie. I think she's everybody's mother, everybody's grandmother, or us. You live in your house, you go to sleep at night, and the thought of whether she got up and answered the door to that fiend, or he was over her and woke her up. I can see my own family. I can see your family. I can see everybody's family. And I know people are like, well, so many kids missing. But the point is that she is everybody's grandmother or mother. And that's the point here.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons I think it's resonating with folks. And when we get with our guests, one of the questions I have is, at what point, without real success, do people just kind of, get numb to it, because nothing is happening. One more last thing before we move into that. Thanks to Lisa from Avalon. She figured out where I was. I did a little impromptu Where in the World is Justice from the Peña Palace, which is in Sintra, Portugal. And a lot of folks said, Sintra. I was trying to be very specific. The video even showed the palace up over my shoulder. I was playing with one of my new toys. I got one of those new tripods that will follow you, as you move. It's unbelievable. It was like $40. So if you see that on the budget from, the expense sheet, $40 for this tripod that will literally just follow you as you're walking around.
I'm happy to contribute my $20 of
Are you willing to do that?
we don't make to you, Michael
Yes,
Bryant.
that's right. Well, what's another debt? Anyway, so thanks to Lisa from Avalon, which is a lovely part of the world in California, for knowing exactly where I was in the mug. This one right here, the kind you can only get by determining where in the world is justice. And I did appreciate.
Or you can buy one, or you can buy.
No, you can't buy one that says that. No,
well, no, but you can buy one of these on our website. It has a Dunkin' Donuts drink in it, not my normal mango. This is something else we tried. Okay.
I appreciate Sheila Duffy, who of course is very helpful. One of our mods is always there hanging out. She decided to chime in that I'm not going to guess. So for those who know that story, here's Sheila Duffy's mug. Seems that there's issues with Ireland, and everything coming their way is apparently a dangerous weapon, and they sent it back to me. I was tempted as we were going to Portugal. I asked the pilot, "Could you just open the door? We're over the Emerald Isle. I'll just pop it right out." But the pilot said no.
Sheila.
So yes.
Now that everybody is in and people have started commenting and you've all started having your say, I think we should bring our guest on.
Well, that's a good idea.
I
was just talking way too long. I apologize. I had a week to catch up.
He missed us, Mac and Jodine. He missed us, obviously.
Good to see you
Jodine Weber, former special agent with the FBI, and Mac.
Retired,
yes.
Former retired.
Cheryl McCollum. Hey, Cheryl, I saw you on Fox Sunday Morning looking pretty good. Was that fun?
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Crazy case. I tell you what, y'all.
Yeah,
people can't get
and
enough.
I have some specific questions.
They can't get enough of it, but I'll tell you, the more I talk about it, the more confusing it is.
Because Michael was away, Cheryl, because Michael was away for the whole week, I get dibs on the first question to you tonight. And my first question is, all this stuff, you find a glove 2 miles or 4 miles or however miles away, one glove, of course, they look like a glove you can buy in a store, that would cover another glove, and they find DNA on it. Well, that's not surprising that they find DNA on it, but unless that DNA connects to something I think we lost Cheryl.
Uh-oh.
My question, next Cheryl.
She don't like that question.
Interested in that question.
So I'll put a pause on that question and let you go to Jodine, Michael.
Well, yeah, let me ask you this, and it relates. It's sort of related to the glove issue, because when they first announced they had this glove and it's sending it off, and I don't want to get into CODIS yet, but we will, because that's the FBI's thing.
Right.
How come everybody's littering the area with gloves? What is going on there?
Well,
they found
that
16
is
gloves.
completely against protocol. First off, it pollutes your potential crime scene area. You can't tell what's legitimate evidence and what's just simply trash. But I think, typically you wear your cargo pants, which have 1 million pockets in them. I was always taught you don't even blow your nose at a search warrant or anything. And if you do, you take your trash with you. You make sure you don't leave a water bottle, you don't leave a glove, you don't leave Kleenex or tissue, anything like that behind. So it is problematic.
I said that must be a mistake, because how could these trained experts in law enforcement, search, rescue, whatever, be just littering the area with these gloves? I could not figure that out.
Well, I'm wondering if some of them fell
We
out
lost.
of the back pocket, but I do think because of the heat, I think they rip, they tear, there's cacti out there, and they just didn't pick them up, which is a shame.
Just so, I mean, it just adds to the whole craziness of this investigation. So, Linda, go ahead and pick up where you were with Mac's
Cheryl,
question.
Mac, where I left off, which apparently, the StreamYard didn't like my question to you. Let's assume for the moment that you have DNA on a glove. Of course, you're going to have DNA on a glove. Somebody had to put it on, take it off, whatever. Bite it off, whatever. It wouldn't be significant unless it matches the DNA in the house. But then, if there's this contaminated crime scene, and I'm hearing the word contaminated all over, because somebody left their DNA in the crime scene, and it turns out it's not the bad guy. We got troubles, as they say, in River City, with capital T.
I was so just excited yesterday because I thought the note from the FBI was real clear. I thought they had DNA off this glove that matched the one from the video, and they already had preliminary tests back, which for me is pretty good. And they're just waiting for, all the quality control to come through. And I thought they were going to tell us today that the DNA on that glove matched the unknown DNA at the house, and it was going to be game on. We've heard nothing from them, but we've heard again from the sheriff, which to me, his statement is great, but it's about 14 days too late.
Yeah, and we should show that statement, shouldn't we, Michael? Now that we mentioned
let me pull that.
The
up
sheriff
here.
of Pima County weighed in today.
Yeah.
And it was an odd statement, and maybe you guys can help in terms of reading into it, because I know he was mad about some of the things that were coming out. Right? He was and he didn't say anything till now. The statement from Sheriff Nanos. To be clear, the Guthrie family, to include all siblings and spouses, has been cleared as possible suspects in this case. And that's a very important reference. You guys know that, and we'll talk about that. The family has been nothing but cooperative and gracious and are victims in this case. To suggest otherwise is not only wrong, it is cruel. The Guthrie family are victims, plain and simple. Please, I'm begging you, the media, to honor your profession and report with some sense of compassion and professionalism. Now, we know about one report early on that suggested Sister Annie and her husband, or the husband by himself, were not just suspects, they were responsible. And so I don't know if this is an answer,
Not from us.
Jodine.
We never said that.
No, we would never
said
do
you
that.
start from the inside, you work your way outside to rule people out. We know from both of you that's the way you do it. All right. So everyone's a suspect, even if they're innocent to start with, but that doesn't mean they're a real suspect.
Right. So, Jodine, do you interpret anything from the second part of this note that's almost like a slap in the face to some people? It just seems to go a lot further than maybe he needed to.
I think so. I got hints from him of that at the press conference way back about 10, 11 days ago, when he said, if you falsely accuse someone, you could really end up hurting them or harming them. And, so I kind of read into that comment that that's what he was insinuating, but now he's much more forceful. What I would like to know, though, is just yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, he said, everybody's still a suspect, nobody's been cleared. And now 24 hours later, they're cleared. So I want to know, do they have DNA back? Do they have a legitimate suspect? Are they not telling us that? What changed in the past 24 hours?
So Jodine, let me ask you this, since you're retired FBI, and then I'd like Cheryl to weigh in. Usually when you have these joint investigations, there may be a joint statement or something that's been vetted by, who's ever in charge. I guess the question is, who's in charge? Is anyone vetting these statements, including the statement we're going to listen to from just heartbreaking statement from Savannah Guthrie, who posted a new video today on Instagram?
Well, I get the impression that the left hand isn't talking to the right, or when they do talk, they're not in agreement. And so the FBI has withheld making statements. They're staying relatively quiet, whereas the sheriff has given some individual interviews, but it's unclear if the FBI is on board with that or not. And it's unclear. We've had another report in the past 24 to 48 hours saying something to the effect that burglary that went wrong is the leading theory. And now both the sheriff and the FBI have had to come out and correct that and say, well, that's a possibility, but we're not saying that's for sure what happened here. So I'm very uncertain as to why there isn't some sort of updated press conference. It's been nearly 10, 11 days since they've had a joint press conference. The sheriff said in his statement today, if you have any further questions about the DNA, talk to the FBI. Don't ask me, essentially, which I thought was very odd, very odd. Now, as for the family, that statement from Savannah that came out yesterday, just heart-wrenching. She just looks just tortured. Her pain is palpable. To me, it sounded more like she was speaking from the heart. I think because I consider her to be very intelligent, very media savvy. Since the sheriff has said the family has been very cooperative with law enforcement, I think she probably would have run it by them. This is what I want to say. This is what I'd like to do. I don't know that for sure, but I could see her potentially doing that. I don't think she would want to do anything that could harm the investigation or put something into jeopardy. But I also think it's interesting because every time she gives a statement, the next day we kind of have a big development.
There you go.
There you go. So I know, Mac, you said you thought that there was going to be a big development, and we did hear from the sheriff, expect a lot of police activity, of which we've had. What the heck is going on? And when they get somebody and they arrest somebody, given all that's happened, do we have the confidence to trust that the arrest is truthful, real, and valid?
You know, when Jodine was talking, I literally started laughing because it sounded so absurd, even though I knew everything she was saying was the truth. But just hearing her say it, I mean, we're going to, close this thing out with the family, but it could take a year. I'm not giving any more statements, but here's my last one-on-one interview. I mean, he has contradicted himself from the beginning of this thing to the point it's pretty ridiculous. And I've noticed that same pattern with Savannah Guthrie. That's why I thought today was the day, because she did put out another video on top of the FBI statement, and the FBI has been quiet for so many days. And I thought this must be breaking. This is it. But, I'm going to put another light on something that I think the sheriff, when I say he was late doing this, if I were Savannah Guthrie and people were dragging my sister all over the internet and accusing my brother-in-law and saying I wasn't doing enough and we weren't doing enough, I would have come out, or I would have demanded that he did. So I still don't know why in the world this has taken 15 days for him to say what he did. I think of cases like Polly Klaas. Her daddy and all his brothers were like, come get our DNA. Give us a polygraph right now. Don't waste time not looking for her. We didn't do it. Well, he keeps saying the family has been nothing but cooperative. They've obviously been, to us out in the open and talking and very visible. So, I think again, there should, to me, and I would love to hear what y'all three think, but I think there needs to be more support of this family from law enforcement, even to the point, I think it's time for somebody to come out and say these ransom notes and letters are bogus. They're complete garbage. We're not going to entertain another one. Don't send another one. I don't care.
Send another one.
Yeah.
Now
it
let's
just, to
before
me,
we go to Savannah, let me just say this is one of our viewers who has the same feeling. Ocean Beach Love, who's with us a long time. I've seen so many wrong reports, including AP and ABC reporting found matching DNA to glove in the video. No, 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 you don't. You know, you have no glove from video. I think this driving people crazy. Michael.
Yeah, and one more comment on the glove and CODIS, because today everybody's all excited. We're going to get the results. We're going to find out. Anybody, I know this is probably unfair, Jody, and you don't get to answer this. Anybody have a clue what percentage of the population is in CODIS? We know it's for primarily convicted individuals. Some database, I think FBI includes arrests. The total number of folks in that is 7% of the U.S. population, which means it is highly unlikely that it's going to match anybody in CODIS. Highly unlikely. So I just hate to sit on that the big bubble that today's the day.
I ask you something, Michael, and Cheryl and Jody will know the answer to this, because CODIS is this database, right? And only certain labs, people don't realize, only certain labs can put their results into CODIS. They have to be certified by the FBI and all of that. If you have, and that's why the DNA International is a great lab. Otham's a great lab. There's Boday's a great lab, but there's certain labs that they do DNA, they don't go into CODIS. But my question is, if there is a mixture, does it go into CODIS, and how does it work? Who can answer me that, if any of us?
Well,
if you see a mixture of a DNA mixture.
Like, you mean like true alleles, that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Cheryl, I'm going to let you take that one, because this is not my lane.
I don't know either,
It's
and
not
I
my
didn't
lane
research
either,
it.
but I've never heard of a mixture being put. You would have to somehow separate it. It's
Right.
got to be an individual.
And
Okay.
my understanding, you need 20 loci or 20 markers from the profile in order to be qualified to be entered into the system.
Right.
It's so interesting. When I started doing DNA and cross-examination, it was like 7 loci, right?
Yeah.
And then it went up to 10, and then it went up to 13, then it went up to 15. Then you had the male, female. Now it's 20 into that, but I think they can still do 23 if I'm not mistaken. It just keeps going up and up and up. The technology keeps going up and up and up. It's just
That's right.
amazing.
It is amazing.
Let me follow up on the limitations that I see in CODIS by suggesting that this, genealogical DNA that has been used so often, Kohlberger most recently, the Golden State Killer, where it became a thing. When that case broke and I was on Long Crime, I remember doing a little research into 23andMe and Ancestry.com. People didn't realize when they signed up for the services, quite often in the language of the contract, it gives the cops the ability to look into your file. That's the default. You could opt out of that, but nobody did because they didn't know what the hell it was. I think that's a more likely way to link whatever DNA they find to a person. Jody and Mac, what do you guys think? Jody, what do you think first?
Well, with genetic genealogy, they can only compare to GEDmatch and Family Tree. 23andMe, Ancestry, and MyHeritage don't allow it. And then with GEDmatch and Family Tree, if somebody checks the box that says, no, you cannot share it, then they're not allowed to share that either. That's my understanding. So in looking at that, there's really not that many profiles that they can compare against. However, it has been successful if they're lucky enough to find a familial connection utilizing that.
So why don't we play Savannah's statement? And
Hold on. I want to get Mac's take on that first before I
I'm
forget.
sorry.
I'll forget. Mac, what do you think of that?
Well, I mean, again, what I was hoping was going to happen today was they were going to say the male DNA off the glove matched the unknown male DNA in the house.
Right.
That's all I thought we were going to get, but that was going to be huge because there's no way the glove 2 miles down the road and the DNA inside the house are not the assailant. So I was going to be real excited about that. But beyond that, the next, phase obviously would, put it into CODIS. And if that doesn't work, Ancestry, but, and then outside of that, anybody they arrest, let's swab them and wait till we have a hit. But that would have been it would be a game changer to me if that would have happened. But again, I don't know where they are. I don't know
Well,
what.
I'm
and
wondering.
wouldn't-
I'm wondering if they already started doing genetic work on the DNA that was found in the house.
Listen, Jodine, I have no doubt. I agree with you 100%. I thought that's why they put the note out there.
Right.
Hey,
right.
y'all, we've got preliminary answers. I thought they were telling us they were here, but they were already, steps ahead. And I thought today was going to be a press conference where they explained it.
And wouldn't it be helpful if they told us that you had Nancy Guthrie's DNA on that glove? Because then if you have
Yes.
her DNA on the glove and an assailant, then you know it's real, as opposed to the 15 other gloves they've collected somewhere.
Correct. Correct.
And
I think it's really irresponsible not to have a press conference at this point, especially after those videos came out last week. The public is seeing these scary images of this person on this poor woman's doorstep, and nobody's coming out telling the public, yes, you need to be vigilant. Yes, we do have people coming in the middle of the night. Here's what you should do. These are the precautions you should take. There's been no reassurance to the public about what kind of danger they could be in.
And we've also seen other videos now of prior visitors, I will call them, to some of these homes. I mean, that's got to be frightening for these people. Okay, this is Savannah from yesterday, and it just knots my stomach to watch this. But we will. So
it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is, that it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. And we believe. And we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. And it's never too late. It's been 2 weeks
that's
since...
it is let me stop that. Hold on a second. It's there's so much going on in there. There seems to be a purpose behind each of these statements. Mac, let me start with you. What stands out, and what do you think that these messages really are, and to whom?
This one stands out to me because she starts with the passage of time. She says it's been 2 weeks. She knows time is critical. Then she goes on to say it's never too late. Twice, it's never too late to do the right thing. That's also the passage of time. So she is uber aware that 15 days without medication while she's bleeding. And that medication, remember now, that was to help her with pain. So that means not only does she not have her painkiller, that means she's coming off of it. So she's going to have withdrawals too. This is a torturous situation. And then she goes on to say, whoever has her or knows where she is, whoever has her, that tells me again, she doesn't know who these people are. She's not in contact with them. These ransom notes and letters are bogus. They just are. They don't have her mother. She's already offered to pay them Saturday, a week and 2 days ago. And her mama wasn't released on Sunday. These people are not working with her. They don't have any information. The fourth one that came out today is the most ridiculous one of all of them. And I thought Bitcoin and $6 million was asinine. But now he says, hey, I've got a burglary in my background. So that's why I don't trust law enforcement. Y'all know that ain't true.
Yeah,
Everybody that's ever watched TV knows that ain't true.
At this point, when I see,
that's when you can make a deal, sir. You can get that $100,000 and make yourself a way out of here.
Yeah, when I see Harvey pop up, I change the channel. It's just my thing. So, Jodine, anything in there that you latched onto as significant?
Well, to piggyback onto Cheryl's point, Savannah does know how many days it's been. She knows they're up with that device on the helicopter looking to see if they can find the pacemaker signal. That means they suspect her body's been disposed of somewhere out there. That's what they're looking for. They're trying to find if she's been disposed of. And I think part of what's being said there without saying it is you can come forward and do the right thing and tell us where you took her. Where did you
Even if
leave
you
her?
know, even if you didn't take her, but you know where she is. That's what
Right.
stood
You
out
can
to
tell
me.
us so we can get her remains and, have some sort of memorial or service, and she can be laid to rest properly. I almost feel like that's kind of what she's not saying, but that's in
So you
her
think
mind
she's
as well.
resigned to your mom's dead? you think?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. She, in the early videos, she spoke directly to her mama. She didn't talk to her mom at all in the last one. And to Jodine's point, all she said was, "We believe." She doesn't finish it. You believe what?
Yeah.
She doesn't say, "We believe she's alive." She can't bring herself to say it because it's not true. And this is the first time, and her brother didn't either, that they did not speak directly to their mother.
Right. Yeah. They're not saying, "Mom, we love you. We won't give up. We're still looking. Hang in there." None of that.
Tragic. Now, Madeira Beach caregiver is our hospice nurse. She's been with us. She's just a wonderful human being. Madeira Beach, why wasn't the front doormat taken as evidence? Perp was clearly standing on it, maybe dribbling saliva from the mouth, flashlight. And also, as I told you, I really was, when I saw those flowers there, I mean, he grabbed the flowers with the glove that had to have DNA, and they were just like trampled on for days. Madeira Beach, I'm going to let Cheryl answer that because my answer would not be happy one to law enforcement.
Mine's not going to be happy either. When I teach at the academy, I tell them, if you do not know how it fits, take it anyway. If you never figured out, no harm. But if you figure it out later, you have it, which is great. When you look at that front door and that vase to the right is empty and there's no flowers to the left, without the video, the flowers are important. You just don't know why. After that video, oh my gosh, that's the one thing about that video that bothers me more than almost anything else. A mask and a gun and all that, that's kind of standard. Criminals wear backpacks every day to shoplift and do other things. But those flowers, the way he manipulated them was so odd, it made it sinister to me.
But that backpack was filled. Usually, wouldn't they have? I mean, I watched Les Miserables, right? When he steals the candlesticks, right? Isn't the backpack usually empty so they can take stuff out of the house? This backpack was filled and it had like a square back. What was that about? Anybody?
It was either. Oh, go ahead, Jodine.
Oh, well, I think he either brought supplies with him, possibly tools in case he had to get into a safe. I think he possibly had restraints, possibly a tarp. And if it is a burglar, which I'm not convinced it is, it may be, but they may have hit other houses before they hit hers. That's a possibility as well. But I do think there's supplies in there, restraints, a tarp. It's ominous to me.
So what was this then? Is the sheriff is discounting a burglary now today? We don't have a ransom note. Is this just pure revenge? What is this?
I said to Michael when we talked before he left for Portugal, I said, every family's got somebody in it, or a neighbor or a former staff member that has a gambling problem, a drug problem, has their hand out, needs a loan, is in debt. Who in her circle or 1 degree of separation did she not give money to, or did she tick off, or did she suspect was up to no good and she was going to call and report them about something? That's what I want to look at. I want to look at that. I do think there's got to be some reason why she was targeted. Why her?
I've said the exact same thing. I've said it publicly for a week. Revenge is all we're left with. This is not about money. It's not about sex. She hadn't been sex trafficked. We don't have any reason to believe she was targeted for any other reason except somebody is angry. And the reason we know that is she was bleeding and they took her. which means they weren't done with her with that 41 minutes in the house. It
And
doesn't
that is
take
an
41
excessively
minutes.
long time.
It is
Yeah.
such a long time, Jodine. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't take 41 minutes to burglarize a house and beat up a woman and rape her. It doesn't take 41 minutes.
Exactly. Exactly.
What about this theory, guys? Each of you. Let's start with Jodine. That this guy on the porch who seemed to be kind of a bumbling idiot was the instrument of somebody else. You know, they brought this guy in to do the dirty work.
Well, it's possible, but in my experience, you know, anytime you add more people to a crime, the more chance you have of mistakes, more chance you have for loose lips, more chance for things to fall apart. And so far, the House of Cards has, you know, stayed erect for the last 2 weeks. So I don't know. It's very, very curious. Very curious.
Mac,
Well,
anything you see that would suggest this is not the guy, but he's been brought into the mix by the guy or the woman?
I mean, $100,000 hasn't moved it. Nobody's come forward. There's been no mistake. Like Jodine is saying, usually somebody's either going to brag, they're going to make a mistake, they're going to, you know, get drunk at a bar and start telling people what they did. I mean, that happens all the time. This hasn't happened in 15 days. And when it went from 50,000 to 100,000, that needle still didn't move.
Okay, so I have two questions then and Michael, I want you to answer this too, because you were away, all right, with regard to her. You have all that time in the house, right? You have nothing else being reported that's going on. We don't know what's going on. We know she was probably on blood thinners because she had a pacemaker, and there's no doubt about that. It looks like she may have been alive when she left the house through the front door. Where is the data dump from the towers? If there is a data dump from the towers, is that been ruled out yet? And if you don't have any, and if you have the FBI the other night, I think it was the FBI saying, or maybe it was the police saying that the person in the Range Rover at Culver's restaurant, initially everyone thought the body was coming out of a car, remember, at Culver's restaurant, was a suspect and they let him go. I mean, what is that about? Because as another one of our viewers, Ocean Beach again, who's very active in this case, points out, let me see if I can show it. The police work scares me. It's Karen Reed on steroids. Yeah, hold my beer, says Pima County. Based on the video, he can be high or low IQ. He could be anything. Sorry, I couldn't get that to show Ocean Beach. But
was that Madeira Beach or Ocean Beach? Which beach was
that? Was Ocean Beach.
Okay.
But so I throw that out to all three of you because it all bothers me.
Well, let me start by saying the whole operation bothers me. How do you have an initial announcement that there is no video recorded from these Nest camera? That there's nothing. We got nothing there. Because the people are so inept that they don't know there's a way to recover it without having the device in their hands or a computer inside the home that may have recorded it. They don't know.
That had to be Pima County because it wasn't.
It had to be
FBI because we had Mike Easter on. He told us, of course, there's a way. You go back to the back end, the back end server, and you work with your private partners.
Now I suspect everything I hear from the SO, whether they're working with the FBI or not, I don't know what to believe. But everything I hear from the SO makes me think, do they have any clue what the hell they're doing?
But what about releasing a suspect? They say this guy was a suspect and they still released him, the guy with the Range Rover. What's that about?
I do find that curious because that was a federal warrant. And so they had some sort of probable cause. Yep. Where is that probable cause coming from? Is it technical data from a cell phone? Is it surveillance that they saw that vehicle casing in the neighborhood that night? Did they have that in collaboration with some source reporting that called into the tip line?
Oh, we lost Jodine. Okay.
Well, she'll be back.
She'll be back.
Confident.
So,
Mac, what do you think?
Mac.
Well, she was on it. I'm telling you, I wish she could have finished that because she was doing a fantastic job of breaking that down. But if she were with the FBI and she comes to my department to help us, and she's the one taking the photographs, she is never, going to tell me to go get 2 tarps and hold them up so that she could take pictures in the back of a Range Rover. There was something visible in the back of that thing that told them that that Range Rover essentially was a crime scene. The only reason to put those tarps up was to shield the vision from everybody else on scene. So if she were to direct me to do that, I already know there's something. And then if you notice at every break in the door, the front door, the back door, and the trunk, they put crime scene tape to seal it. So when they got back to the Sally Port or the lab or wherever they're going to process this Range Rover, they could swear nobody's opened it because that tape's not broken. Y'all, that's bagged and tagged. That's a crime scene to me. So I was just as shocked as y'all that so far nothing has come from it.
Jodine, I think Cheryl kind of finished your thought.
Good,
Yeah,
because,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Drop me there. But there had to have been some probable cause for that warrant. Now, Brian Enton with News Nation has reported that his sources say, yes, they were cooperative. Yes, they were detained and they're not arrested, but they're not finished with that yet. They're still processing things. They still have things they're working on as a result of their search warrant and the seizure of that vehicle. I find that curious. I'd like to know. I mean, did someone at that residence purchase something like the backpack at Walmart? Did they find a purchase history? Anything like that. What could be the probable cause in that warrant?
And I heard something earlier today, just before we came on, suggesting they were taking that same Range Rover back one more time for some sort of follow-up. I have not confirmed that. Saw some video, saw some on the scene report. I don't know if that would be odd, wouldn't it? If they would be bringing the car back a second time.
Hey, y'all, I do have to go, but one last thing.
Can I just say, Cheryl, you have to leave, so we're going to give you the last word. What's done next, and what do you want to end with?
I think what's done next is the DNA. I think they've got to come out and tell us something, how it connects to the case, if it connects. But if they already had preliminary results, y'all, they already know. They already know. So I appreciate it, and hopefully we'll have some answers. But y'all take care and be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Bye, Cheryl.
I noticed something from Brian Enton, just posted about 8-9 minutes ago. Whoops, hold on. Although I'd love to be in the middle of you two. There we go. He says the DNA hasn't even been put into CODIS yet. That's what he said. Now, that would be a function, I think, of this, hey, we're using this Florida lab, not the Quantico FBI facility, because we always use the Florida lab, says Nanos, the sheriff, and we sent stuff there in the first place. We're just continuing that relationship. First of all, Jodine, your thoughts on that, and then the delay that seems to create in getting anything into the CODIS system.
Well, the lab itself is accredited. It's a fine lab, but the problem is yes, they can't put it into CODIS as soon and can't compare to CODIS. So once the FBI gets it, their laboratory is going to be like, well, we better check this and make sure that we get the same results that they get. That's number one. And so they have to go through their quality control measures, and they'll do that. And then it's got to be signed off up the chain. But I also think the FBI wants to look at the composition of that glove. They want to get the specifics. Where was this glove manufactured? Can we get a lot number? Can we identify where this was sold, where it was distributed? Because there could be lead generation there. So I think that's also going on behind the scenes, as well as they want this profile so that if there isn't a match in CODIS, then they can begin the genetic genealogy. And of course, they want to compare whatever DNA profile was developed to the DNA that was recovered in the house. To me, that's the $1 million question.
If it's true, they have it, because we don't know what's true and not true, right?
Well, let's assume they got some, and they just aren't announcing what, if any, connection they made, because at this point it's prudent not to announce it. That wouldn't be unusual, would it?
No, they would keep that under their vest, but yet at the same time, I'm wondering, I mean, if it is a match and they know, all right, we've got disposed of gloves 2 miles from the house. We got the DNA in the house. It doesn't match the family. Is that why they're saying the family is no longer suspects? They've been cleared. Are they close? Are we going to see another SWAT rollout tonight? You know, is that what we're going to see? I wouldn't doubt it. Like Cheryl said, every time Savannah gives a statement, there tends to be a big event that follows.
Okay, so let me ask you this before you
Okay.
continue that thought, because I want you to do a comma and then continue. Does the FBI approve Savannah's statement? Is it written purposely for a purpose? And let us that and then continue.
So I think it's the way they say it is, we advise. But if they want her to do something, they will say, here's what we would like you to say, because this is what we want to generate. And certainly if the FBI tells you this could help find your mom or help us make an arrest, she's not going to say no to that.
You're going to do it. Sure. Sure. Okay. Well, here's a tough question. As we're into week 3 now, when does this become, you know, you've exhausted all leads and now it just kind of gets cold. It becomes a cold case. We know that 48 hours is key. Well, we're eons past that. When internally does the FBI start to change their focus on it?
Well, I think the sheriff's office is going to be the first one that changes their focus because of their manpower. You know, all their other work is just sitting on a desk right now because they've been consumed with this investigation. There's going to come a time where they need to either turn this over to the FBI and let the FBI be the lead, or reduce their own resources so that they can serve the public on other crimes that need to be addressed. I think the FBI is going to be focusing specifically on the DNA. They're going to be looking at the technology, the evidence that they got from their warrants. And I do think they're following up on the Walmart purchases, the backpack, those sorts of things. I think those leads do have some value. And I think there is a lot there they can still work with.
One question for you, Jodine. What if the person took her over the border into Mexico?
Well, fortunately, we have a legal attache in Mexico. We have great liaison with Mexican authorities. They can assist us if information is developed as to a location, as to a suspect in Mexico. So that would be coordinated by the FBI through the legal attache.
Well, hopefully tomorrow night when we get on this show, there will be some movement that we'll have. We'll all be watching tonight. And if there is some movement, getting no sleep, hoping it brings us one step closer. Joni Weber, I hope you'll join us if that happens.
Anytime. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank
wait,
you very
wait,
much.
I almost forgot.
Wait.
Oh,
Yes,
thank you,
yes.
Michael. Yes.
There it is right there. Bald-faced deception.
And you
Maybe.
can
Some of your
Jodine
readers have reached out for a nameplate.
Oh, good.
So I will
Good.
just go to my website, jodineweber.com, fill out the contact information. Let me know you need a nameplate and give me your name and address, and I will send you one.
And Jodine did read on, if you are a member of our channel, JSTV, she did the first reading with Michael Bryant. Michael Bryant did the second reading with her. But if you want to hear her read her own book, become a member of JSTV. Also hit the subscribe, like, share, and notify and hype button. But being a member gets you to see Jodine reading her book.
Yes.
Great. Great.
Thank you guys, too, for selecting it again.
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you.
Talk to you later.
All right.
Talk to you
Thanks, you
later.
guys. Have a good night.
Okay, so we have another case we're going to do tonight, but tomorrow night we are going to talk about the Aiden Carney case, where Aiden Cosgrove Loss on the phones will be announcing guests for that show tomorrow night, along with continuing our coverage of Guthrie. But right now, there was a very important case that occurred over the last month in Monmouth County, 7 years in the making. If we want to talk about time, whole family killed, the Caniero family, Keith Caniero, his wife, his daughter, 6 years old, his son. And when Michael was away on Friday, Keith's brother, Paul Caniero, who had pointed a finger at another brother, Corey, well, guess what? The jury rejected that and convicted Keith Caniero of all 4 brutal murders and homicides. So we want to take a look at that. And we also have a statement from our correspondent on the spot, Chaz Giuliano, who was on his way back from Washington, D.C., but sent us in a statement. So what do you want to do first? The statement, the verdict, or the press conference?
Let's do the verdict just to relive this. And it is, unfortunate it's such an important case kind of got overshadowed, right? So many years in the making, so many lives just destroyed.
Right.
But this was the moment.
Okay, sir, we'll start from the top.
He's talking to the
All right.
foreperson.
How do you find as to count 1 of the indictment charging the defendant, Paul Caniero, with the murder of Keith Caniero?
Guilty.
Did the defendant, Paul Caniero, commit the homicidal act by his own conduct, meaning the defendant actively and directly participated in the homicidal act?
Yes.
Did the defendant, Paul Caniero, commit the murder in expectation of the receipt of anything of pecuniary value?
Yes.
Did the defendant, Paul Caniero, commit the murder for the purpose of escaping detection, apprehension, trial, punishment, or confinement from another offense or offenses committed by him, the defendant?
Yes.
Did the defendant, Paul Caniero, commit the murder while he was engaged in the commission of or an attempt to commit the crimes of murder?
Yes.
Count 2. How do you find as to count 2 of the indictment charging the defendant, Paul Caniero, with the murder of Jennifer Caniero?
Guilty.
Did the defendant, Paul Caniero, commit the homicidal act by his own conduct, meaning the defendant actively and directly participated in the homicidal act?
Yes.
Did the defendant, Paul Caniero, commit the murder in expectation of the receipt of anything of pecuniary value?
No.
Did the defendant, Paul Caniero, commit the murder for the purpose of escaping detection, apprehension, trial, punishment, or confinement for another offense or offenses committed by him, the defendant?
Yes.
Did the defendant, Paul Caniero, commit the murder while he was engaged in the commission of or an attempt to commit the crimes of murder?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously repeats the same series of questions for 3 and 4, the children. A couple of observations. Give me your take on this. This is Ms. Mastalone. I think that's how you pronounce her
Right.
name. And she's not taking notes. That I found that just odd that a very complex verdict where you're going to be attacking it, obviously, whether it's her or somebody else on appeal, she's not even taking notes. I just found that odd. The other thing is right behind them, you see this 2 women at the table there.
Yes.
They're reacting very positively to these guilty verdicts. That didn't make sense to me just in terms of where people are sitting in the courtroom. They're at a table inside the well of the court where you would normally have support staff, right?
Right.
So I'm guessing they must be support staff for the prosecution or maybe victim representatives. But I
don't know, but you're absolutely right.
Did you notice that it was just weird that they who appear to be on the defendant's side are clearly not?
Well, what I thought was weird is Miss Massalone is wearing a suit of burgundy and color coordinated with her client. I thought that was weird.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, that they are very well matched. She's got, I think that's a special sweater. I haven't seen
No
the dark
emotion, no emotion at all.
No.
And remember,
Well-
he didn't testify, and they didn't call Corey to the stand, and not that they needed to. And this is it is that it got a little short shrift because it was 7 years in the making, and the niece, the little girl, was stabbed in the eye.
Yeah, 8 years old, Sophia.
Sure. Just
So
unbelievable.
should we go to our special statement or the press?
Let's do the special statement from Chaz
Okay.
Charles Giuliano, major criminal defense lawyer in Monmouth County, New Jersey, who was our eyes and ears in the courtroom most days. And let's
Okay.
see what he said.
Okay, let's see. I'll make that a little bit larger. There we go. Okay, look at that. JSTV correspondent, Monmouth County Criminal Defense Attorney Charles Chaz. Giuliano, is that
That's how you pronounce it.
Giuliano on the verdict? The forensic evidence was overwhelming. The DNA destroyed the defendant's case. The prosecution played it right, presented an ironclad case. The defense made a heroic effort, but absolutely had nothing to present to cast a reasonable doubt. It is clear the defense never had a chance. It is not an exaggeration to describe Caniero as never having a chance to win because the state had an avalanche of evidence to convict him. So I would add to that it's almost like they just said, this guy's doomed. Let's just give him an attorney, because she's a public defender, right?
Right,
That was
correct.
the
He
replacement counsel.
he was initially represented by my old law firm, great attorneys, and they had to leave the case fairly early on due to a conflict of interest. He was assigned a public defender. And then because COVID came, the case kind of got put on the back burner. But there was a lot of cooperation in that case to get him. There was the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office investigators, Ocean Township investigators, the state police, the Colts Neck police, because remember, there were two scenes, Colts Neck and Ocean Township. So there was, unlike what we're seeing in the case that we're talking about right now, the cooperation was huge. The forensics were huge. The DNA was huge. What did it for him was the DNA of the little girl, Sophia, was found on 4 places on his bloody jeans, which were in his basement. That was it.
Yeah.
The case was over when that evidence was presented.
Which was stuff he was trying to burn. He was trying to burn all of that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I've not been shy. Ms. Mastalone, not good. Not good. Some of the worst attorneying I've ever seen in terms of just standard procedure for how you direct examine, cross-examine especially. It was just painful. I couldn't even watch it toward the end, because her practice was to basically repeat everything that was said in direct examination, so reinforcing it to whatever degree it was, but never ever really making a point that would help the defendant. It was bizarre.
And then the prosecutor made a statement. He made a statement that he's essentially not going to make a statement, but there is going to be a sentencing on this. And we all know in advance what the sentencing is going to be. It's going to be
it's mandatory,
times,
isn't it?
four times, consecutive. But
yeah, let's see what he has to say.
I came out today to make a statement. I will not be answering any questions, because this is, as you all know, one step in the judicial process. I'm going to wait until the day of sentencing on May 12th to answer questions and to make further statements. Today, as you all know, the jury returned a verdict of guilty on all charges.
How do you find as to count 1 of the indictment charging the defendant Paul Caniero with the murder of Keith Caniero?
Guilty. I have to thank the jury for the attention, the consideration, and the seriousness of which they took for this case. We knew from the very beginning that we would follow the evidence, and that's exactly what we did in this case. I want to thank the investigators, all of the paralegals, my prosecutors, for the dedication, the professionalism, and the seriousness in which they took this case from its inception. They allowed the evidence to dictate the proofs. And that's what they presented in court today. And the jury agreed that beyond a reasonable doubt that Paul Caniero was guilty of all charges. I know the impact that this has had, not only on the family, friends, and the community at large in Monmouth County, but Keith, Jennifer, Jesse, Sophia have waited for over 7 years for accountability to come forward. And on behalf of them and the family, our thoughts will remain with them as the healing process can start as we go through the judicial system. In no particular order, I do want to thank all of the work that was done on behalf of the Colts Neck Police Department, the Ocean Township Police Department, the Monmouth County Sheriff's Office, the Prosecutor's Office, New Jersey State Police, the FBI, ATF, the Engineering Department, all the Fire Marshal, all of the investigators who took their time to make sure that this case was thoroughly investigated without bias, without favor. Our system of justice requires citizens to come forward and to give up their time to make sure that due process works here in Monmouth County. And today, with this verdict, it did. The rule of law prevailed today. With that, I would ask that you respect the privacy of the family as they now start this process of healing and going through unraveling what has been happening through them for their entire time. I thank them for being here and being a part of this process. Their presence was a necessity to make sure that justice was served. To all my staff, again, I thank them so much for the work that they've put forward in this case. And thank you very much. Good day.
And that is Raymond Santiago. That's where I spent many years being a prosecutor, Monmouth County. There's my courthouse in Freehold, New Jersey. Michael
Justice
Bryant.
was served, I
Yeah,
hear.
did you hear the end? The justice was served. And I would also say, with regard to Raymond Santiago, he is also the prosecutor that's gone apoplectic over the Montalvo situation. That's what we've been covering about a month ago, where a woman named Maria Montalvo was given clemency by the outgoing governor. And we had Tomas, her ex-husband, on also apoplectic over it, and he is gone, and he will be fighting her application for parole, obviously. But you can see what kind of prosecutor he is, and I'm very proud of Monmouth County, New Jersey,
And she was
my
found, for those
hometown.
who don't know the details, she was found guilty of the murder of 2 children that she basically set on fire
In a
while they
car,
were
right.
alive.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, So anyway, Caniero case ends with really kind of a whimper after we really expected that to be just this amazing case. And I think 2 things happened. Number one, it was so clunkily presented that it was hard to get into. And
Right.
then, of course, the Nancy Guthrie case came along and kind of took over most people's attention, including our own, to be honest with you.
Yeah, even Charles Giuliano, who went in and watched for us some days, said that sometimes he had to leave. The cross-examination was just so,
I don't know.
he couldn't handle it anymore. And he, as a trained trial attorney, he couldn't handle it.
I don't know if I've seen a case where the judge had, words with the defense more than in this case. It was daily that he would.
And he was a good judge.
He was a good judge. I think
Former
he's
first assistant.
he's a good jury judge. By that I mean he's not just considerate of them, but he's trying to bond with them and kind of put himself in their place to for all the breaks that they have to endure, for whatever the issues are. One day he said, "Is it cold? I heard it might be cold in the jury deliberation room." And so he had that kind of back and forth with them.
Yeah,
But he was all over defense counsel because she was just all over the place, not getting where she needed to go, and he did everything but write her questions for her.
Yeah.
So.
It was, and it's a tough case. Let's face it. Whenever you have children killed, especially the way little Sophia was killed, it was truly a tough case. So speaking about interesting cases and the comparison in counties, as I said earlier, we were in Dedham, we were in Canton, we were upstate in Massachusetts, and we said, wow, what terrible crime scene processing they had up there. And we see the good crime scene processing in my county, Monmouth County. And then we come down to Pima County, who says, as I said before, hold my beer, or maybe it's hold my champagne, or maybe it's hold anything.
You just wonder, your mezcal is close to the border. You wonder, how much is true about the animosity that's been talked about between the sheriff's office and the FBI, that the sheriff is kind of a glory hog, and he doesn't want to give up any control or shift the focus from him or his office. I don't know how much of that's true.
I don't know.
Something's going on. Something's wrong here in the way there appears to be this dual track investigation, and nobody seems to be working toward the same end result, which of course is finding perpetrator or perpetrators of this disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah, right.
And I can't imagine what Savannah and her family are going through.
Horrible. But we'll be checking in on that tomorrow night, and we'll also be checking in on, while you're away, Aiden Carney and Cosgrove getting
Cosgrove. How many strikes is he going to get before he's out?
It'd be interesting because we're going to be talking about that in length. We'll read the opinion of the judge ordering the phones that were seized years ago, and the grand jury refused to indict, ordered back to Aidan Cardney and to Karen Reed. But apparently he has 30 days to appeal. And he says he's not going to give the phone back till he gets an order of the court, because since the court ordered the seizure, he needs an order of the court. Well, I thought the opinion is the order of the court, that they just enter an order afterwards. So we'll be dealing with that. We've asked Aidan if he's available to come on. We'll let you know if that happens. It'll be in our thumbnail, but we'll be doing those two cases tomorrow night. And whatever else comes along. While you were gone, there was some stuff on Epstein and we have Farwell coming up March 5th.
We're going to have to do kind of an updated Epstein. I've got a couple of folks we can have on to chat about some of the latest stuff that's been dumped and what it means, and some of the survivors.
And I did have, as one of our Rip and Reads one night, I wanted to play the commercial that they had ready when there was a testimony by Pam Bondi in front, if you call that testimony. And I don't care what side you're on. That was outrageous, in my opinion, when you have all those survivors sitting back there. And I never did get to play it, so I'd like to play that. So maybe this week we'll get to that too.
All right. Okay. The one document of the latest dump that caught my attention. How do you have a press release about the death of a prisoner before the prisoner's dead? How does that all work?
Yeah, and interesting. A little prescient, maybe a little prescient. Aliens, I don't know.
Lucky guess. I don't know. Something.
And of course, the new person seen going up the stairs in
the orange. Which was referenced. Well, I'm gonna have to pull that October.
And I'm gonna have to pull my husband's article. He gave an interview to the Telegraph, which I think he didn't write the headline on, which says demands new investigation or something, or says there should be a new investigation. But maybe we can get Michael to come back on and talk about it.
Speaking of Michaels, I have to address one thing before we go. Apparently, I've seen some of the back and forth in the emails. I did not see the episode, but Michael Easter was here and had a great time with you. So I have Dr. Michael Baden, world-renowned forensic pathologist, taking my Michael spot. Then we have Michael Easter, the renowned FBI special agent digital expert, taking my Michael spot. And then we have me, this Michael, and I got nothing. I don't have any of those things.
Hey, Michael Easter had a great time being co-host at the end of the show. As a matter of fact, he closed down the show, not with subscribe, like, share, notify, and hype, like I'm all asking you to do, and become a member. You can for $2.99 a month. But he closed down the show with the words you're about to give our viewers before we see you tomorrow night at 6 p.m.
Very interesting. Now he's plagiarizing me. Why you? But I will modify it just a little bit in honor of Savannah's request, and that is that it is never too late to do the right thing.